Section86.com. We're changing the world of podcasting one show at a time.
86 Productions.
Take what you wanna take. Don't leave me here. Lasting leap years ever your fear of the one and only love.
Hello and welcome to Off the Mark, the best podcast for the most in-depth insight and analysis into the world of professional wrestling. On today's show, we have Aaron, Roger, and Doug to join Andrew as we discuss this month's View from the Turnbuckle. So, the biggest news of the week, Aaron, is that it's kind of sad news. We lost some legends, and just really sad. We lost Neidhart, Christopher, Brown, and Koloff all passed away since our last show. What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so four really big name people. Brickhouse Brown, a lot of people probably don't know because he was primarily bigger in the 70s and 80s. But of course, Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Brian Christopher were huge staples in the 90s for WWE, WWF at the time. Ivan Koloff was a really big villain in the 80s also for them. Unfortunately for Brian Christopher, it was currently ruled a suicide, which is, of course, never good, but very fond memories of all these performers, and they really left their mark on WWE, so they will be sorely missed.
Yeah, I mean, I think the part that saddens me the most about this is Brian Christopher was not that old. I want to say he was 46 or something like that. He was, very young in his life, and this is another tragic, story, and we've talked about this in the past. Wrestlers dying very young. Jim Neidhart was a little bit older. I think the thing that struck me the most is that if you remember the late 90s, that whole D-Generation X, Hart Foundation, Nation of Domination, the entire Hart Foundation besides Bret Hart is dead. Owen is gone. Bulldog is gone. Pillman is gone. Rick Rude was DX, but the Hart Foundation, most of them should not be dead. We're talking about guys dying in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. And, that'd be like if Generation X was mostly dead. I mean, it's sad. Koloff, obviously, he was a relic of the Cold War, but still, I feel like he was a little bit too young. And then Brickhouse Brown, he was a little bit older in age, but still, just for them to all die kind of within the last month, it's just sad. You hate to see people die, and this industry seems to have the most of anything that I follow. They seem to die very young and very often.
You never have a good moment when you're starting a podcast off with talking about the deaths that happen, and it seems like we always have to start it off this way. Too many wrestlers die too young. Some of them at their own hands. Some of them just heart failure or anything like that. It's sad to see any of them go. But I thought that WWE did a great job in honoring Anvil and everything that they've done with Natty.
Yep, overall, it's just a sad situation, but going on to some interesting news that Neville, also known as Pac, is officially done with the WWE, and supposedly he can wrestle anywhere he wants now. Now, Doug, do you think we're going to see him turn up maybe at All In?
It'd be interesting. He's been off TV for quite a while right now, so him getting his official release and everything like that, I'll be excited to see him pop up here and there, and hopefully see him back in New Japan.
Yeah, no, I agree. He needs to go to New Japan. That he is a perfect, not only a junior heavyweight, but fantastic in that kind of lighter era. He could fight against guys like Okada, Zack Sabre, Kenny Omega, and fit right in. I mean, he's a bigger cruiserweight, so it's not like he would look out of place fighting guys like that. Even Ibushi, Tanahashi, I think he fits that roster well. He has a very vicious style. He really found his kind of footing as a heel, but he also is a fantastic face. NXT booked him well as kind of that scrappy underdog face. So I would love to see him in JPW or Ring of Honor. Hopefully he does something soon, because I really hate the fact that they cooled him down after that year of just king of cruiserweights. He was by far the best thing he's ever been in, part of the cruiserweights, which is really a dead division. So I'm very excited that he gets to be on TV hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, 100% agree. And I really do hope that he makes an appearance at All In. I think it would be not only a shock, but it would be, a way to, kind of reintroduce him to the world. So I think it'd be really good.
Yeah, it's interesting that he is gone, but I would like to see where he goes from here, and I also would like to see him do something cool wherever he goes. I just hope he has an awesome entrance to be reintroduced as Pac. I think that'd be really cool for him. So WWE news: Roman Reigns. We got to talk about him again. So, Aaron, what happened with him?
He won the Universal title.
And moving on to the next thing.
So, Aaron, your thoughts on him?
Yeah. So, all right. So, the fans were ready to crap all over this match. And it was Roger and I are watching it. And I think maybe Roger, you had mentioned to we should fast forward. And I was like, oh, no. We got to see, did they hijack the show or whatnot? And no, I mean, they didn't. They decided Braun Strowman was coming out right before to say, hey, I'm going to cash in. And so the fans were interested. No one's going to leave because they have a chance of seeing two title, like a Universal title who's been held for 500 days, defended only a couple times, but held for 500 days, could be switched twice tonight. That's a big deal, right? So they're going to stay and watch and see what happens. But instead, they did a smart thing. He just stayed outside. And then, we had Lesnar go to town on him and he destroyed him. And that was smart. It was really smart booking. Roman Reigns wins. The only good thing about this is that we're going to have the title defended on every pay-per-view. The downside is that means that AJ Styles and the WWE title is not going to be the main event. Instead, it's going to be the curtain jerker.
When was AJ Styles the main event?
Yeah.
Oh, he hasn't been, even though he has the WWE title.
Yeah.
Even at pay-per-views where the WWE title wasn't defended, he was still not the main event.
Which is unbelievable. Just the fact that they cannot defend the title, that he can't be the main event, just ticks me off to no other. Your main title should be the last match of the night. It should be the main event, but they're not doing that. Oh well.
Got to make Roman look strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've said more than enough about Roman. I don't really care. I think the interesting part about this is how they, again, used somebody else to try to make it seem like the crowd wanted to cheer for Roman. Like, the idea of Strowman coming out early was fantastic. It was a great idea. It really set the stage for, like, oh, these guys probably have to end this match quickly because you're going to have to deal with Strowman right afterward. The crowd was into it. It was interesting. The match itself was kind of stupid. Like, the best part of the match was honestly Lesnar chucking the briefcase accurately up the stage. Like, it was a fantastic throw. But other than that, it was dumb. And it was the worst of their matches, in my opinion. And really, when Strowman didn't cash in, it was one of those, oh, that was a bait and switch. And it shows you the lengths that WWE will go to essentially cement Roman as the face. When, if you have to do all this work to get people to cheer for him, isn't that a sign that maybe he's not the guy that you should be pushing as the forefront? But obviously, Vince McMahon, this is his hill to die on. So they will do everything in their power to kind of take the heat off of anyone else to get Roman over. And that's what they did. And even probably the following weeks with Strowman and his alliance. But it's over. The Lesnar reign of doom is over. They basically all of my thoughts from WrestleMania 34 apply here. Okay, they got what they wanted. He beats Brock. Now he can be the champion. The sooner this is over, the better. Let us move on to bigger and better things.
Do you think that Strowman actually turned heel, though?
I mean, yes, because he aligned himself with two heels. Though I will say this would have been much more interesting if Strowman had cashed in and then Roman and the Shield teamed up on Braun. Like, I think you would have had a much more interesting dynamic, and then Braun joining McIntyre and Ziggler for backup would have been like, oh, well, that's logical because he needs help. But I don't know. This is dumb. Like, I don't like this idea that Braun has to have. I don't like the cash in being told ahead of time for Braun. Like, I think that's stupid and is a waste of money in the bank. He could have just done this with the Greatest Royal Rumble. Like, he could have just said, I'm going to use it at Hell in a Cell. And I mean, is he going to honestly beat him a month into his title reign? Does anyone really believe that Roman has beaten Brock Lesnar just to lose it in a month? Unless he popped on a weed test again, I doubt there's any chance Strowman wins this match. So he's going to waste his Money in the Bank briefcase to be essentially a transitional challenger.
I was very excited when I saw Braun come down, just in the aspect that I picked him to win during the match. And I was like, yes, he's going to do it. He's going to cash in. This is going to be a three-way, and we'll finally see something we all would rather see rather than seeing Lesnar versus Reigns again. And then the way the match turned out, it was horrible. It was kind of by the numbers and everything like that. And it's like, oh, okay, this is how it's going to happen. Great. So now we have Reigns as the champion. Whoop-de-doo. Let's move on.
So, Hell in a Cell, right? I mean, this match, I believe they've announced too, it is in the cell. So, I mean, what are they going to do with this? I'm so confused about. Strowman is essentially, who is a quote unquote heel now, gave the briefcase over to Corbin and said, all right, I'm using this for Hell in a Cell. If he's a heel, that's not a heel move. That's a face move. That's what Rob Van Dam did. That's what John Cena did, Like, this does not make sense as to how they're booking this. They're saying Strowman's a heel, use him as a heel. Get this match, and Strowman could lose and then cash in right away. I've always thought that'd be a really cool thing to do. I thought Rollins could have done it at Royal Rumble the year that he had the briefcase. But either way, I don't know. I don't quite get it. I will say, though, I'm happy that at least Roman will be defending the title on a fairly regular basis.
And AJ Styles will be moved to the curtain jerker, which is sad. But you are right. All the titles are being defended now. I mean, even as low as the cruiserweight, all the way up to not the WWE title. It has to be Universal title because it's Roman. So you are right. I mean, they're all getting defended, even though there's too many. But yeah, and that happens. So Kevin Owens, he recently jobbed to Strowman, which he got his butt kicked in that match. But on Raw, he quits. I mean, Doug, do you think this is a storyline, or do you think that he's taking time off, or do you think it's real?
It's storyline. It's got to be storyline because I believe he just signed a 5-year deal. I don't think he's walking away from that. But you know what? I don't see this as a bad thing for Kevin Owens to step away from everything right now, reinvent his character, come back and be fresh. There's nothing for him to do right now since you have Strowman in the Universal title. You got Reigns and everything. You got too many people going on. It's sad to see him leave on such a high note because of that Raw match that he had with Rollins was, by far the best thing on that whole show. And now he's going to step away. And it's like, there's a guy who deserves the title, deserves to be pushed as the number one heel, and can do the many things for WWE that you need him to do. Great talker, great promo, great in-ring abilities. And now he's got to step away because we got to make room for the Roman Empire.
The Roman Empire.
I don't think this is a bad thing for Kevin Owens at all, because since coming to Raw, what has he done of note? He's gotten his butt kicked by Strowman. He's gotten his butt kicked by Lashley. That's it. Like, he has not really done any, and by no fault of his, this is purely terrible booking. He was essentially victimized and bullied by Braun Strowman, despite being the heel and supposedly a sadistic heel. And yet he was picked on like he was Enzo Amore. It's just, I don't like him on Raw. They have not seemingly understood how to book him on a show with giants. KO works better on SmackDown, where he is bigger than Daniel Bryan and bigger than AJ Styles and bigger than a lot of guys, so he can be more of a bully type. When you put him on Raw and he's getting punked by Bobby Lashley and Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns, and then he loses to Seth Rollins in a great match, I'm not mad about that, but how many times can KO continue to lose? Like, when outside of getting choke slammed off of the cage, I legit can't tell you the last time Owens won a pay-per-view match. I'm glad he's taking some time off. I hope they have an idea for him when he gets back. Gosh, I just don't like him on Raw. He is so much better than what they've given him.
And didn't we point out at one point that if he goes to Raw, they're going to bury him because they won't know what to do with him? I'm pretty sure we said that. And
I'm pretty sure we said that about most people on Raw. And for the most part, it's been true. Bobby Roode, we knew that was going to suck, and they screwed that up. Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Jason Jordan, and I guess he got a push. Chad Gable got buried. I don't know anyone who has been more successful for going to Raw and leaving SmackDown, which is bizarre on a show that technically should have more time. Fashion Police, are they still employed?
Yeah, they're still there.
I haven't seen the Fashion Files since they left SmackDown.
Fandango's injured.
I know Fandango's hurt, but that shouldn't stop him from being able to do backstage skits if they wanted to. Mm-hmm. Or Breeze could be looking for, they could do 3 hours to fill.
I was going to say, Breeze has gone out a couple times and got jobbed out to, was it CN?
Or CN.
Almost.
Oh, on SmackDown?
Or
yeah,
no.
Almost is on SmackDown, yeah. But
Mojo?
I think he jobbed to Mojo. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
That's right.
The funny thing is, I feel the focus is around everything except for building other characters. And I think that's the problem. And with somebody like Kevin Owens, when he was the Universal Champion, he still was not the main event, right? He's the second longest reigning Universal, not that matters, but he held that title, and he is not being treated like he is a former champion. He just isn't. And the feuds that they have him in don't make sense. And if you think about it, him and Strowman just had a match where Strowman dominated him to show what a dominant face he is. And then Strowman turns heel? But Kevin Owens is a heel. And Kevin Owens was trying to get him to be his friend as a heel. So if you're following the storyline here, Strowman, what he should have done is him and Owens should have joined up as a team. And then they should have taken down Roman Reigns. That's what they should have done. He's like, you need a friend. And then Strowman gets attacked and he's going to pick Drew McIntyre and Dolph Ziggler, somebody random. He's not going to pick somebody like maybe Bray Wyatt, his former, teammate in the Wyatt family. Like, I'm really confused by this. Like, it seems like week to week, there is no cohesive storyline and they just decide to go randomly in one direction and then maybe pull back if they go, oh, wait a second. No, why don't we just make him a heel, right? Like, I mean, he can do that. Big Show turned 60,000 times. Let's just do that with Strowman. Like, who cares about protecting people? And it seems
they did say he was being mentored by Big Show. Oh, so he's a face next week is what I'm saying.
And that's the thing, right? Like, are we going to boo him? No, we're not going to boo him. And I mean, that's the thing. Now, but back to Owens, though. The whole Owens thing, I feel that this is doing a disservice to him. The only thing that I can hope, and this isn't my idea, this is something I had read and I agree with, is that Strowman gave the case to Corbin. So he never cashed in because Corbin said, all right, you're going to face Roman Reigns at Hell in a Cell. And he just handed him the case. So what if Corbin at the end of Hell in a Cell says, oh, I still have the case and I'm going to award it to Kevin Owens to stay on Raw. And then Kevin Owens cashes in on Roman. He'd get cheered, right? I mean, that would probably be kind of I don't want to say a cool storyline, but it'd be like, oh, you're going to swerve us, and you now have this get out of jail free card with a dastardly heel. He's going to be the first 2-time Universal Champion, that sort of thing. I don't know, but they need to do something because Kevin Owens, unfortunately, is being buried on Raw, and like you guys said, they're doing a disservice to him.
Aaron, you just gave me the worst idea ever, and I think it's going to happen.
Oh, tell me.
You just said that Corbin has the Money in the Bank, right?
I just thought about that too.
Corbin is going to be a 2-time failure at cashing in Money in the Bank just to make Roman look that much stronger because he can beat Corbin even after taking on Braun Strowman.
No one's going to cheer for Corbin. You are correct about that. No one's going to cheer for Corbin.
I mean, instead, when you have to put the Shield back together just so you can get Roman cheered. And even that's not working.
All right.
This is ridiculous booking. I'm getting so frustrated thinking about it.
Here's what I don't understand, right? I get, okay, we're going to use the Shield as a vehicle to get Roman over. Like, I legitimately get the logic of that. What I don't understand, though, is in that very same Shield dynamic, you have Seth Rollins, who does not need the Shield to get over, who gets massive face pops, who puts on 5-star, like he is arguably the best wrestler in WWE of 2018. From the gauntlet match to now, he has the most quality matches. He does not need anything more than just time and a decent opponent. And yet we are so concerned with Roman Reigns that you just refuse to just let Seth Rollins take the ball and run. Because if Seth Rollins were the guy beating Brock Lesnar, you wouldn't have to sacrifice Braun Strowman in the case. The crowd would have gone absolutely nuts in Brooklyn for Seth Rollins curb stomping Lesnar and being the guy to end the 1.5-year streak. There would be no controversy. There'd be no booing. There'd be universal cheers for a universal champion. And despite that, we're just going to keep pushing Roman. Like, why? Why do we need to keep going down this direction?
I think you just gave WWE their greatest tagline. I mean, obviously we know that they listen to this. So universal cheers for the Universal Champion. That'll
happen on Raw.
When Michael Cole says this, I'm trademarking it.
The big dog. All right. So let's move on to the WWE title. So AJ and Joe gets really personal, and honestly, I thought this was very good. What happened when when Joe grabbed the mic both times? That was one of my favorite things that happened. And I was like, oh, he went there. So what did you think about that, Roger?
I absolutely adored it. It was everything that Nakamura style should have been, but this actually was. Like, this was Joe just being a dick. He just was being absolutely foul and mean and really getting under AJ's skin, but he's not doing it because he can't beat him. He's just literally doing it to troll him and anger him and frustrate him. The only thing that I would say that was probably missed is that, okay, Joe, you got what you wanted. You got under his skin. Why didn't you say, hey, Paige, I won the match, and it's clear that AJ is taking shortcuts to retain his championship. On the next match, I want a no champions advantage. If he gets disqualified, if he gets counted out, he loses the title. And now you let Joe continue the story of getting under his skin, calling out his family, and AJ has to control his emotions, which you can arguably say, hurts him in the match, and then Joe chokes him out because he can't be as intense as he wants to. Perfect storyline that sets itself up. Instead, they're just going with, I don't even know if this match is in the cell. I think it's just a standard title match, which is like, okay, no, like this needs to pay off to something. So far, it's been fine. Like, Joe has been saying get better security for years. He told Regal this. He's telling Paige this. That's why he keeps choking out. I mean, it's well done. Joe and AJ's chemistry is really good. They didn't ruin this the way they ruined AJ Nakamura's matches because the DQ finish actually worked. I just wish this could be the main event. Like, this is going to be much more interesting than Roman and Braun is going to be, but we know this is going to be, the fifth match of the card. I think that's the only thing wrong with it. SmackDown's doing everything right with this. Really enjoying it. Hats off to them. I'm interested to see where this goes.
I usually hate it when WWE goes and interferes with personal lives, like real wives, real kids, and everything like that. Or even when WCW did it, because you ended up with Judy Bagwell on a forklift, and you end up with Rey Mysterio and
Eddie Guerrero.
Eddie Guerrero fighting for Ray's kid, for custody of Ray's kid. This doesn't make any sense. And then when Joe started doing this and getting all personal and everything like this, I was like, please no. These are two guys who can just have a blood feud and be a great thing. But I'm loving this. This is great. I'm waiting for WWE to mess it up, and take it too far. But so far, this has been. I mean, I love it when Joe, especially during the match and what led to the end in the DQ, and he said, "I'll be your new daddy." I'm surprised they have not put that on a T-shirt and put that out there for marketing purposes, because that should be a sellout. This has been great, and if this doesn't go into Hell in a Cell, they are definitely dropping the ball on this one, because this is a match that is heated enough that deserves to be in the cell. I don't need to see Hardy versus Randy Orton in Hell in a Cell. There's no need for that. One, I don't even want to see him fight anymore. Two, definitely not in the cell. Put this match in the cell. It belongs there. Great feud. Hopefully everything stays on the upward trail. And I would love to see the final payoff of Joe winning the championship from AJ.
Yeah, and I definitely agree with you guys. What my hope is that they don't do what they did with AJ Nakamura, that they don't, you don't want to overstay your welcome, and I think that's the problem WWE has a lot of times, and they do that constantly. In this case, it ended in SummerSlam on a good note. It ended with Joe winning by DQ. Obviously, no title is going to exchange. I agree with you, Doug. It needs to be in a cell. And I would say exchange the title there. Honestly, even the build up to it, I would say this is going to be our last match. No rematch. It's just for this. And then you have AJ give the title to Joe. And then AJ has to work his way back up. AJ is the number 2, number 3 merch seller for WWE right now. So that's the reason why he's obviously been put in these very prominent roles. It's not like he's being buried or anything like that. But have a build up. Have him work to win the title back. So have Joe win the title. AJ goes back down on the card. He has other feuds. Joe has other feuds as well. And then AJ works up for WrestleMania. He works up for next year's SummerSlam. And then he finally can get the title back. That's what you do. That's how you make a champion worthwhile. That's what they should have done with somebody like Roman, not what they did do. I don't want to make this about Roman, but Joe, love him. I hope he wins the title. Honestly, early predictions, I'm probably going to pick Joe to win this, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that would be interesting to have. I would actually like to see Joe win it at Survivor Series and then give AJ some time off and then have AJ come back at Royal Rumble, all fresh. And also if he signs another contract. That's how I would do it. Then you have Joe being the powerhouse. You have him over the Christmas holidays. And then you have AJ Styles just come back after that. Let him be with the fam and everything. And I think he'll be, and especially because I think they said at one point he has some minor injuries that he's been working through. Let him have the time off in a few months. I think it'll be worth it.
I kind of think you need to have Joe win it before then because they're probably going to do champion versus champion. And I don't really want to see AJ lose to Roman. I'd rather Joe versus Roman. That way you can have you'll have that Shield backing up Roman, and then Joe will find, This is why it'd be like if the Revival were on SmackDown, for example, they'd be like the perfect type of backup for a guy like Samoa Joe. Both no nonsense hard hitters. But yeah, that's why I don't think you wait till Survivor Series, because most likely it'll be Raw versus SmackDown again. So you can have champions versus champions.
Oh gosh, yeah. They're what they would have, AJ. Let's just go on to the women's titles. So Ronda wins, and Charlotte wins. And Aaron, your thoughts? Do you think that it was the right time to give Ronda the title?
Yeah, Ronda needed to win the title. No one was going to believe Alexa Bliss would win. The only way they could have done that is if Alexa literally got out of the ring immediately and then DQ'd herself. That's the only way that would have happened. But she needed to win. I think the more interesting thing here, though, was the Charlotte one. Doug, you got this pick right in our SummerSlam special. I know you did it just to be different, and it turned out in your favor, which is always good, right? I honestly, when Doug picks Charlotte, I'm going to pick Charlotte from now on because he did at WrestleMania, so I'm going to have to do it, and whatever Doug picks. That said, the crowd reaction to Charlotte winning was negative. The crowd reaction was when Becky, quote unquote, turned heel, they cheered. That's not a heel turn. And then the next or 2 nights later on SmackDown, Becky's like, you fans turned on me. What? No, we didn't. We were behind you the entire time. You are now Daniel Bryan, okay? That's what you are to us. We're cheering you. When you attack Charlotte, we're cheering you. We're booing her. We're chanting your name at her during her matches. And apparently now the rumor is the WWE is now going to present both of them as faces, that they are going to say that they have a disagreement, but they are both faces. That's not the case. Charlotte should be treated as a tweener or a heel. That's what you need to do in this situation. Charlotte inserted herself into that. This was Becky's time, and you took it away. So what they really need to do is Becky, if they're going to Daniel Bryan this whole thing, Becky needs to get that title at some point in time. That's what they have to do. So I don't know. I mean, I'll say this too. I like Becky. I've always liked her, but this whole thing has really made my eyes open even more to how beloved she is and to how much more I like her because of the crap booking and because of how sympathetic of a babyface she is.
Rousey winning. The only thing that I think is that one took too long. It was still under 5 minutes, but still took too long to beat her. That should have been a 30-second match. But Charlotte and that women's match, I want to give it up to Carmella, who actually stepped up her game and actually added to that match. I believe that became a better match due to the fact that Carmella was in there, and sets up a great feud between Charlotte and Becky even more because Carmella was in there, and it'll keep that one fresh. But this whole Becky turns heel thing, I just want to point out that the WWE, like Aaron said, seems to be pushing Becky still as the face and Charlotte as a kind of almost heelish, at least just for this feud. What's the difference between this happening, and I hate to do this, but Roman Reigns? So you're learning because the crowd is booing a person that maybe they should be the heel in a match, and because they're cheering this person that maybe they should be booked as a face. I think we're seeing two different things here. SmackDown and Raw. Somebody's getting it, somebody's not. I'm not even going to say which one because it's clear, absolutely clear. This is another match that it goes to Hell in a Cell. It deserves to be in the cell. This is another match that has gotten to that blood feud rather quickly to be in the cell. Whether they do it or not, because obviously they can't put every match in the cell or else it would just be kind of boring. But here's another one that belongs there.
What this actually needs is Bayley and Sasha involved. Like
they all need to go to counseling.
I mean, Bayley did the same thing to Sasha not too long ago. If you had Becky and Bayley as the frustrated friends who got sick and tired of feeling like they're living in their more famous friend, quote unquote, shadow, and then do a tag match at Hell in a Cell, and let them be more vicious and let them beat them up. Let it be a 2-on-2 match. Then a Survivor Series, they can do a 4-on-4 match, and then Charlotte and Becky can finish it at, I don't know what the pay-per-view after Survivor Series is, but whatever that is, TLC, let's say, Night of Champions or whatever it is. Let that kind of be the conclusion. And look, I think Becky should have won the championship. She's over. Like, she's the sympathetic underdog. people behind her, and you legitimately run the risk of Charlotte getting a Roman Reigns like reaction at a certain point. I like Charlotte. She's fantastic. She's always been a great heel, and she's a very good wrestler. But she's a 7 times women's champion. She's only been on the main roster since between WrestleMania 32. So we're talking about 3 years. You shouldn't have 7 title reigns in 3 years.
The other thing also is that she can be heel and people will boo her. And it's like Becky, they don't want to boo her because they want to see her succeed. And I think that Charlotte's had the title, you're right, too many times.
And Charlotte has done almost everything. She's ended the streak of Asuka. She's won at WrestleMania. She's, been the face of the division. This is what people wanted to see Becky win. So when you try to say that the fans turned her on, that was terrible writing. That's a terrible promo and it's tone deaf. They didn't turn on Becky. If anything, Charlotte should have been the one who came out and was angry and bitter that, despite what all the things that quote unquote she did for women's wrestling, look how you treated her. She should be the angry, bitter heel. Becky is the one who the crowd loves. This is like when they try to turn Daniel Bryan heel. And it's like, no, we're not going to accept it. So I'm glad that they've allegedly switched course. This should be Becky Lynch and Charlotte just having an issue. And they should really be Becky Lynch versus management. I would much rather Becky say that, whether it's Becky versus Paige or Becky versus Shane or Becky versus Stephanie, I don't care who you want to do it. Let Becky say that you constantly overlook me because I'm not blonde, because I'm not tall, because I have an accent, and let her really just dig into it and say that I'm, the best wrestler on this company. And look at how you treated Asuka. Let Asuka join this battle and be like, oh yeah, I bet I'd get a ton of title shots if I came back with blonde and, I was a little bit bigger, and even throw in the Meltzer quote. So it's like, go at this and let them be the type of characters they should be. Don't try to pigeonhole Charlotte as sympathetic, because she's not. I'm sorry. For one, she's bigger than Becky. She's been pushed harder than Becky, and she's a Flair. You know what Ric Flair was good at? Being a heel. You know what Charlotte Flair is good at? Being a heel.
Yeah, so Rollins gets his win back from Ziggler. Rollins is still the IC champion, by the way. Doing a great job. I'm very happy that he is the IC champion, but he doesn't need it, of course. Ambrose is in the mix now, and I don't think they're handling that portion properly yet, but I want to see how it's going to end, because eventually they're going to have to break the Shield up again. Roger, you said earlier that Rollins he is the face of Raw. Do you think that everything that's going on with him and Ziggler was the right thing to do at this time? I
mean, I had no problem with Rollins being the IC champion outside of the fact that he should be the Universal champion. He has been the flag bearer of Raw, whether it was the open challenges or dominating that gauntlet match or putting on the match of almost every card. He's had the best match of the night. So I have no problem with him being kind of the workhorse IC champion, but man, I just dislike how much they're trying to use his and Ambrose's return. Everything is sacrificed at the element of the altar of Roman, and not to turn this into a Reigns discussion, but Rollins should be doing better. He should be doing more. He shouldn't be in mid-card feuds anymore. He should be one of the top 4 to 6 guys that are constantly challenging for the main championship. And honestly, I think Ambrose should have turned heel. I think we should have gotten Rollins versus Ambrose, and I would have kept the Shield apart. Look, the Shield was great for what it was. I thought they brought it back way too soon. It wasn't Evolution where it had been many years. It had been like 2 years since we'd seen the Shield. I didn't need to see them back together again. I don't need to see them back together now. Unless they're going to turn heel, I don't want to see it. I'm just bored with them. I was bored with them last year, and I'm bored with them this year.
Yeah, it looks like, though, that Ziggler and Ambrose are going to be... I'm sorry. Ziggler and McIntyre are actually going to be taking on Ambrose and Rollins at Hell in a Cell. Doug, do you think that maybe this is going to be... Maybe they'll finally turn Ambrose heel at this point?
No, because they need to keep Ambrose as part of the Shield, as part of the reason why we cheer for Roman Reigns. Because without that, that's the only reason I think that you couldn't turn Ambrose heel yet, is because you need that Shield to get cheers for Roman. And this is sad that we have to bring up Roman Reigns yet again. Everything has to revolve around him, and it's making Raw horrible. Where Ambrose should be heel, and that would be a great storyline and a great setup for a Hell in a Cell match or a great feud for later, because you can still have Ambrose having hard feelings for Rollins turning on him. And, it's like, hey, payback's a B, so let's go with it. But you got to keep them all together because Roman. You can't have one person affect the whole show, and that's what they've allowed Roman to do. This is just getting sad.
So I'm actually okay with this for right now because I think everybody was expecting to have that heel turn with Ambrose, and I think that this was a really good opportunity. You know, Rollins is the IC champion. He takes it back from Ziggler, and now we move on to the tag team portion of their feud, right? And then they can get rid of Ziggler at this point in time. They don't have to worry about Ziggler and Rollins again. Instead, Rollins can focus his efforts against somebody else, right? Some other, mid card or upper mid card heel. And then Ambrose can move on to McIntyre. He can move on to Ziggler, and they can, kind of shake things up that way, right? I think that's a really good thing. The one thing that is unfortunate, and I agree with Doug about how it kind of does go back to Reigns, and it does in that way, like we had talked about earlier, where they're getting the cheers, and so they have to kind of keep them near each other in that aspect. I would love to see WWE. They did something very interesting a couple of Mondays ago where they had the Shield attack Strowman. And it kind of seemed like, oh, what are they doing here? Are they kind of going a little tweener, maybe like NWO style, kind of cool heel or DX even, and they're going to attack, the good guys are going to preserve the championship, which would be smart. That'd be a good way to do it. But instead they're not, and I think that's a missed opportunity here. If they don't want to turn Reigns heel, that's fine. All right. Have him be tweener. Have him be like, look, I don't care. I'm the cool bad guy, sort of thing. You don't have to go Stone Cold. You can go Scott Hall, WCW, sort of thing. There's a lot of things that they could do with this. So, but back to Rollins, back to Ambrose. I think Rollins owning the IC title is great. It's the workhorse championship. Who better to hold it than the workhorse of Monday Night Raw, which is Rollins.
And moving on from the workhorse on Raw, we'll talk about the workhorse on SmackDown. We have Miz versus Daniel Bryan. Miz won, which I was disappointed, but should have seen it coming. Aaron, did you think that this lived up to what we were hoping to see? Like they've been building this up for years now, and you think that maybe they might have done something proper, but did they crap the bed?
I think it was okay. It was passable. It was not a great match by any means. It was good though. They had a story that they were telling, and I think it was smart for them to have Miz win. I said before, I think it'd be great for them to have their final match at WrestleMania. That's where the culmination is. I don't know if they will, but hopefully that's what they do. I also think it's smart too to do the tag match that they're going to be doing at Hell in a Cell. It's a way that you have them go at it, but not really go at it, and Daniel Bryan can lose again here. You could have Maurice pin Brie and Daniel Bryan technically loses. And so he doesn't get his heat back yet. And the Miz says, I'm done with you. And he moves on to something else. I think that's a great way to move this feud along. But either way, I'm glad. I think that this is kind of almost like Bret Hart HBK-esque in a way, not in the technical wrestling, aspect of it, but in the hatred that's there for them, storyline wise. And so I'm digging it. I really like it. And I do hope they drift apart a little bit and then come back together much later on.
They definitely need to drift apart. I believe Hell in a Cell's too soon. I don't need to see this match. I don't care to see Maurice fight. I don't care to see Brie Bella fight. They should have gone away for a little bit and come back maybe Survivor Series and have Team Bryan versus Team Miz. You can do that. Have them build up for that. But this is something that we're going to run in. I fear that this is something we're going to have to run into every month. It'll be some kind of tweak to it where it'll still be Miz. It'll still be versus Bryan. You're going to see Team Miz. You're going to see Team Bryan. You're going to see then it's going to be something else or it'll be something else. And it'll be a four-way match and you throw more people in there, but it's still Miz versus Bryan. Keep it fresh. Keep it going. But keep it fresh. Miz should have just came out and been like, I beat you. I don't have to face you ever again. And gone on to new things. There's plenty of people that I want to see Daniel Bryan fight, whether it be Nakamura or Samoa Joe or something along those lines. There's plenty of people that Miz can fight and have good feuds with. SmackDown, I think that's the good problem that SmackDown has is they have the wrestlers, they have the feuds that they can mix people up and keep everything fresh. So to go back-to-back months with this, I'm not excited about it, but at the same time, hopefully they'll continue the story and but don't overburden us with every week Bryan versus Miz.
Nothing good comes from the Bella Twins. Let me just say that right now. So Having them back is not good. Brie has the single worst theme I have ever heard in the nearly 30 years I've been watching wrestling. It's awful. She's not good in the ring. She's not a legend like they push her out to be. She wasn't a pioneer of women's wrestling or divas wrestling. Maurice is fine for what she is. She was always more of a valet than a wrestler. Look, Bryan versus Miz is a fantastic rivalry. It's very similar to Gargano and Ciampa, and it's been a long time. But much like Doug said, we know it's going to be overdone. It's going to be Team Bryan and Team Miz. It's going to be Bryan versus Miz in this tag match. Give them some room to breathe. Like, I liked the idea of Miz being like, I retire from the idea of ever facing you again. I have proven that I'm better than you. I've surpassed you, and I have no reason to fight you. And the next time they should fight should be over the championship. It should be Miz being the champion and Daniel Bryan winning the Rumble. And now Miz has no choice but to face him or forfeit the title. But they should not fight until then. And if I'm Miz, walk out on every match that involves Bryan. Even if you do the Miz versus Bryan 5-on-5, you have him come out and say, I found a replacement. Let it be a surprise return for someone. Let it be Kevin Owens switching. Be like, I will not fight Daniel Bryan. I'm out. A perfect jerk move to do. And that's how you should keep the feud going. As far as the match at SummerSlam, it was what it was. It was a feud starter, not a feud ender. I think the brass knuckle spot was smart because it kind of plays into the whole Daniel Bryan wanting to punch him in the face and Miz won by punching him in the face. The old William Regal power of the punch. I see nothing wrong with it. It wasn't the best match of the night, but it wasn't a bad match. It was a story starter. Let's see how this plays out at WrestleMania.
You brought up a very interesting idea, Roger, which was, just kind of thinking down the line. And I almost want to kind of tie in AJ and Samoa Joe into this. Just kind of spitballing some ideas here. Samoa Joe wins the title, let's say at Hell in a Cell. No rematch. Samoa Joe's next opponent, let's say Daniel Bryan wins some sort of match to become the number one contender. And or even better, let's say Miz and Daniel Bryan in a triple threat or even a four-way or, something along these lines, right? And Miz wins the title. And Miz then holds the title until WrestleMania. And at Royal Rumble, Daniel Bryan wins it. And that's how he gets his third match.
I love the idea.
Andy, any thoughts on that?
I think that would be the smart thing to do. So that is exactly what's not going to happen, but we can always hope, because Daniel Bryan, he hasn't won the Royal Rumble, has he?
Nope.
Why not do it this year then?
And Doug, you were at the Phoenix one, the Phoenix Royal Rumble a few years ago when it was John Cena that won.
Right.
What was the fan reaction like then? Do you remember?
It was more meh. No one really cared because we all saw it coming. Everybody saw that it was going to be CM Punk losing to The Rock, and then it's going to be it's the twice in a lifetime. Yay! It was kind of a meh because everybody saw it coming. And I was going to even go with that as my end year of the end prediction or prediction for 2019. I want to say I think Miz should win it at the Royal Rumble, win the title at the Royal Rumble, have Daniel Bryan win the Royal Rumble. Although predictable, you could just see Miz coming out and be like, "You overshadowed me. How is that possible?" Because the Royal Rumble being the main event, Daniel Bryan winning the main event, the Miz can't even win, or he wins, but it's not even the main event. And you have the Miz still being mad because Daniel Bryan won and is overshadowing him. I think that's a perfect feud and setup and everything like that. Call it an early 2019 prediction, but that's what I want to go with. And it makes sense. It's something with, again, just like Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania. You knew it was going to happen. You knew Daniel Bryan was going to be Triple H. You knew Daniel Bryan was going to pull it out and win the championship at WrestleMania. And there was nothing wrong with it. It was perfectly fine. It was that feel-good moment. Yay, he finally did win. No one had a problem with that. That would be perfectly fine. But like I said, good idea. Probably won't happen. We'll see.
This is what I'd really like to see happen, is that, let's say everything we just said does happen, but then Daniel Bryan keeps working on something on the Miz, like either his elbow or his knee or his back, and he just week after week somehow gets him into a hold and keeps stretching it. So then when he wins it at WrestleMania, it's because of he did like an armbar or something like that, because he kept working on the Miz on that side. So then he gets in there and they could almost have like a weird storyline like that. That to me would be pretty interesting, but
You mean long-term booking?
that's what I'm referring to. But, you know, even like, hey, the Miz says, oh, it's finally feeling good. Then Brian goes right back at her or something like that. Or, you know, not doing, I guess you can't do heel things like that, even though it would be funny to.
Yeah, see, the only downside to that is that that is like the inverse of the Miz Brian storyline, and in reality, it should be Brian getting his knee is hurt or something like that because Miz just clipped him from behind, and then he has to overcome that to win. So Brian kind of bullying Miz wouldn't really fit the same storyline, I guess, that they've had for these years. It's not a terrible idea, but I would flip that and let Miz be the one who just keeps attacking, Brian and clipping him out, and even have Miz attack Brian in the Rumble. Let Brian come out at like number 3, and Miz just ambushes him, and then Brian gets knocked out and doesn't come in maybe until like 20, but then he finds a way to win, and Miz is disgusted. Or let it backfire. Let Miz try to interfere, but he ends up missing and hitting Roman with a chair, and then Brian knocks him out in the Rumble. Because Roman's going to be the runner-up. We know this for a fact.
Well, yeah.
Roman's going to go in, and it'll be again for his title again, and he'll win it. And this time, it'll be a 60-man battle royal.
Oh, man.
Why did you speak that evil to existence?
Because WWE hates me.
Oh, that's fair.
All right, so let's thank our sponsor, HostGator. Are you a blogger or podcaster, or are you just not happy with your web host? You need to check out HostGator.com. You're going to find web hosting made easy and affordable. HostGator offers unlimited disk space, unlimited bandwidth, one-click strip installs or a free-set build, and hands on the best control panel out there. Stop by today and try a free demo to see how easy it is. And if you use a special coupon code, off the mark, you're going to save 25% off your web hosting packages. So what do you got to lose? Check out HostGator.com and take a bite out of our web hosting costs. Also, make sure you check out 686's Off the Mark page and click on the banner at the top to save big on items from WWEshop.com. Let's talk about NXT real quick. Ricochet wins the North American title. Doug, did you see this coming, or were you just pumped about it?
No, I did not see this coming. I picked Adam Cole to win just because I thought they were going to be sticking with Adam Cole for a while and pushing him to be the greatest or anything like that. I'm very excited that Ricochet won. I love Ricochet. In every fantasy draft that we've had, I've picked Ricochet and rather high. This, to me, might be my match of the year. This was unbelievable. The stuff that they pulled off, the stuff that they did, the timing of the things, the risks that they took. There wasn't really too many false finishes, but when you finally got that one finisher, and all of a sudden it's like, this is happening. This is really happening. This is amazing. By far, there were very few mistakes in this at all. The only thing I think is that they didn't set this up well enough. I think they could have booked it a little bit better or longer, or had a better feud going into it. The match was excellent, but it did not feel like the feud was to that point yet.
I mean, I don't need to say anything about TakeOver. It was by far the best card of the weekend. There was, TakeOver's worst match is probably as good, if not better, than 95% of the matches we saw from WWE on SummerSlam, Raw, and SmackDown. Ricochet and Cole had probably, I don't know if it was my match of the year. I'd have to go back and watch some of the other matches that were also fantastic, but it was probably the spot of the year. That moonsault super kick, I don't even truly have words. Like, I remember seeing it, and it was one of those moments that, like, kind of just jump out of your seat. Like the first time Shawn kicked Benjamin when he springboarded across the thing, and you were just like, what did I just see? Like, it was outstanding. The crowd popped. Cole's, going for the cover and not being able to get him. I mean, it's just, that match was great. And really, the entire card was well done. Like, I got to give credit to Shayna Baszler. She had an unbelievable match with Kairi Sane. That finish of insane elbow countered into the basically, what I don't know what she calls her clutch, but it's basically the coquina clutch, into the like Bret Hart, Austin roll up, I just completely caught me off guard. Like, it was fantastic. Really enjoyed that. The spots that she was doing, I always love how she really works on manipulating the joints. And then, every other match was good. Like, the tag match was good. Obviously, the main event, Ciampa and Gargano, even though I'm kind of sick of it, still a good match. Like, I had no problems with this card. What I really enjoy is I'm waiting for champion versus champion. I really like the idea of Ricochet versus Pete Dunne. That's going to be really, really fun. And EC3 versus Velveteen, that was fun. Like, that, those are two just characters, very WWE character guys. Fun match. Like, I want WWE to give me 4 NXTs instead of the Raw and SmackDown. Like, I want a women's NXT. I want a SmackDown NXT because they put on shows that make me want to watch wrestling. Period. Like, Raw and SmackDown put on shows that I feel like I have to watch, but I don't want to watch. I want to catch up on NXT.
You know, it's funny, Roger, you took the words right out of my mouth. To me, it wasn't match of the year. It was good, you know, like 4.5 stars probably for me. But seriously, that kick, what that did, like that alone gives it, like, you know, 4 stars. I mean, like it was amazing to see that. And that is probably going to be my moment of the year. You know, my OMG moment of the year is probably that kick. That was insane. So, really, really happy for it too. I mean, I very similar for Doug. I picked Adam Cole because kind of figured that's the route that they were going to go. Adam Cole was going to hold on to that for a long time. But Ricochet deserves that. And Ricochet is an insane worker. And to see the stuff that he can do and to see the stuff that he probably will do, even with that title, I think is awesome. So, you know, excellent match. I don't know if it was the best match that night, but it definitely was, you know, I mean, it's probably number 2 if it wasn't number 1.
Yeah, I echo everything you guys said. I was really excited about the match and the way it came out. I mean, overall takeover. I mean, I don't know which match. If I had to pick match that was the worst, it's actually tough to do. If we're going to talk about if you're going to talk about SummerSlam, that's easy. I mean, you can go through like, well, this one sucked, this one sucked. This was like, which one is going to be under 4 stars at this point? Is what it was. It's like, oh gosh, like, could I do that? I don't know if I can at this point, but overall, it was very entertaining. Of course, Kairi Sane did win, but I think the biggest thing was Aaron Ciampa. He retained. Like, I was shocked that he did. I mean, did you think that there was even a chance that Gargano was going to win?
I mean, there's small chance, you know, but unfortunately with Black being injured and him being out of this match, I think it did change things a little bit. And so they, you know, I mean, all 3 of their matches they've had have essentially been street fights, right? You know, they've been just hardcore matches. And that's unfortunate. It really is. Because while I think that they've had one of the best feuds, if not feud of the year, the downside is they've done it 3 times in a row. And yes, it has been, you know, like 2-3 months in between, but it's still 3 times in a row. And I really hope, I haven't seen what's happened with the NXT spoilers. I really hope that they're not doing it at Survivor Series. I hope War Games doesn't even have Ciampa versus Gargano. I hope it is completely void of them and they have to move on to something else. I really hope that that's the route that they go. I love Gargano. I love Ciampa. They have to go. I mean, honestly, like, for a long time, they need to move away from each other. You know, you don't want to AJ Nakamura this.
I really hate don't Nakamura this because it's so true. It's 100% true. From what I understand, they're either working the injury or Gargano is legitimately hurt, so he shouldn't be fighting for quite some time. The one thing I will say about this is that I would have taken the title match and the EC3 Velveteen match, and I would have mixed those competitors up. I would have taken a break, and I would have said, okay, if EC3 is my face, I would have had him gone after Ciampa, and I would have let Dream and Gargano go at it. And then I would have just kind of let them in that way. Then you could have brought Ciampa and Gargano back for War Games. They could have fought in the 4-on-4 match. It wouldn't feel overdone. And then you could finally have Gargano get maybe his rematch at TakeOver WrestleMania. Having said that, yeah, take a break. Like, I don't want to see this. I don't want this to be a match that I'm bored of. Like, NXT has always been pretty good about spacing out their matches and bringing a big fight feel to it. But you do run into that point where, like, remember, like, Joe Nakamura a couple years ago. They did, like, 4 matches in the span of, I want to say 4 months. I was kind of like, I'm done. This has been 3 street fights, essentially. No, enough. You know, let too much of a good thing. NXT is usually smart enough to know better. Don't do, let's do this match over and over. You know, I don't want Charlotte versus Sasha, where by the time this feud is over, I'm like, gosh, please never let them fight again. So as long as they avoid that, I think we'll be fine. You know, NXT is like the opposite of Raw. I give them the benefit of the doubt because more often than not, they deliver. So let's hope they go in the right direction. Everything seems to indicate they're moving away from Ciampa Gargano. And I hope it stays like that for a long, long time. And don't introduce the Bella Twins.
I agree with everything that everybody else has said, that this has been the 3rd street fight. This has been this. I really thought Gargano was going to win because I picked also EC3, and I thought that was a perfect setup to, if EC3 wins that match, it's almost like a number one contenders match. You had Gargano interrupt EC3's match earlier in NXT. I thought they were going to kind of lean towards that and go towards that, but and they still could. They still could say that they're going to create a new number one contender in EC3 and Gargano are going to fight, and then you have the Dream fight somebody else to tournament into the number one contendership. I have no problem with Ciampa winning, but yeah, I'm done. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to see another somebody else fight. These guys have been the main event for quite a while, actually. If you think about it, even in their tag team titles and their non-tag team title matches, they've been the main event. But let's see somebody else up there. So excited for NXT, still love it, but this might have been the lackluster match of the night.
Well, you got to think about it also. This feud's been going on for 15 months. And the thing is, it was still good, and it should have ended where, it started in Chicago, but I understand why they had to go again because of Aleister Black's injury, but I think the idea of bringing like Dream and EC3 into that match would have been a way better idea, and make it a 4-way. And then you could have had, because they were all feuding with each other. I mean, I thought it would be a great mix, but oh well. Anyway, so this has been an interesting time in wrestling this month. So I can't wait till next month's show, because we'll be able to discuss the upcoming Evolution pay-per-view and what happened at Hell in the Cell. So,
but isn't Evolution a mystery?
It is a mystery. Anyway, so that's all the time we have for this month's show. If you're into the Twitter, you can follow the show at OffTheMark86. I want to thank 86 Productions for hosting and editing the podcast, and I want to thank all of our listeners for taking the time to download and listen to the show. And for Doug Hahn, Roger Caven, Aaron Hughes, I'm Andrew Hughes, and until next time, we'll see you in the ring.